Well, hello there. My name is Dave Bila. I want to welcome you to this new edition of News and Views, broadcast by Access LaPorte County on Public Access TV Channel 99. We are a weekly public opinion program addressing local, state, and national topics and issues of interest to the Michigan City and surrounding areas. Opinions are the views and the responsibilities of those making comments and do not necessarily reflect or represent the views of this program or its co-producers. We will adhere to broadcast rules, but absolutely no one's First Amendment rights of freedom of speech or freedom of the press will be either muzzled nor denied. Any unauthorized use of the accounts, descriptions, and events of this program without the express written consent of Larry, Curly, or Schmo is strictly prohibited. We hope you enjoy the program, the discussion, and the participants. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to open up today's program by saying I watched a TV show, and I watched a follow-up of the TV show the next day, and the TV show was America's Got Talent. And I watched it, and I watched the contestants, and so I wrote down who I thought were the 4 finalists of America's Got Talent. And I picked 3 of the 4 people who I thought had talent. But neither one of those 3 of the 4 people actually won the competition. A young lady who was in a motherly way, who sang modern songs. Anyway, she sang. She won the competition, and it was projected on the TV screen that she's going to win $1 million. $1 million for just auditioning and winning the contest. Well, she did win something that equals up to $1 million, but there was a few strings attached, and I don't think the average viewer knew what she won. She won a 40-year, $25,000 a year annuity. 4-year, $25,000 annuity. Of course, she's going to have to pay taxes for the next 40 years. Or she had an option to take $300,000 in cash before taxes. Well, I'm just saying that the show got me hooked because she's going to be healthy.
$1 million.
$1 million. She's going to be a new mother, and she's going to have $1 million in her pocket. But it turned out not to be true. And so I wonder how much other television programs that we are watching turns out not to be true. Tony, any idea of other?
Oh yeah, there's a radio show out of Arizona. Bob didn't know this one. There's out of Arizona in the 90s, and they ran a special contest all summer long. And they were going to give away a free Toyota. Call in, get your name, and you get picked out. And so some played it all summer long. Came to the end, some guy won. And he called up and he says, I won. They called him up and said, you won. You're going to get your free Toyota. He goes, oh yeah, where do you pick it up? I said, well, you come right to the studio. We're going to give you a free toy Yoda, like a Yoda doll. And he went and he got mad. He said he was going to sue. And they had this disclaimer. If you read the disclaimer, it said free toy Yoda, like a Yoda doll.
So the bottom line here, the bottom line, be careful what you say and do on a day-to-day basis.
What's the fine print?
Be careful of what you say and do on a day-to-day basis. Keep your words soft and sweet, because you never know which ones you're going to have to eat.
Oh, what's the true saying? If it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true.
See, what you needed to do was go out and get about a 35-year-old Toyota, park it on the back of a truck, and take it around to all of the various car shows, the car dealerships that are non-Toyota. And here is an example of your Toyota. They would have got that new Toyota so fast you couldn't believe it.
Okay, now let's
just gotta think a little bit.
Yeah, now let's get to the program. At least I got your attention. Back on the
which he can't do with his wife because she's always right. But go right ahead.
I'm always right, and she criticizes me for the fact. On the 18th of July, a young man by the name of Kevin McGuire made a presentation to the Michigan City Redevelopment Commission. Okay, a part of his presentation consisted of installing metal detectors, improving video surveillance in the schools, and exploring a new bus radio system, and also included metal detectors. Now, these metal detectors, there was an issue at Michigan City High School Monday morning because of some extenuating circumstances that followed the football game Friday night, and there was a security search of the students getting into school. And so the school buses that sat out in front were full of kids until 45 minutes later, all of the kids, their bags were searched and
Were
everything.
they late to pick up the elementary kids?
The school buses just sat there with the high school kids. What transpired, I don't know. But there was some reason why this security, there was extenuating circumstances why this security search happened. That will come up later on in the conversation here. But back on the 18th of August, Kevin McGuire made a presentation to the Michigan City Redevelopment Commission to install metal detectors and improve video surveillance within the school system. Here we have a situation that it looks to me as if the youth of Michigan City aren't even comfortable within the confines of the Michigan City High School because their bags have to be checked, because there's possibly an emergency out there that needs to be addressed. And this security, the metal detector might have helped extenuate, it might help the removal of the kids from the buses if the metal detectors were in place. But because of the Redevelopment Commission's, this request was made on July the 18th. On August the 18th, the Michigan City Redevelopment Commission, according to their minutes, referred the issue to Baker Tilly to research Senate Bill 1 to see if the Michigan City Redevelopment Commission had any money to help to help with these metal detectors, Michigan City area school. I would think that's...
How much money do they have?
Oh, you want to know?
How much money is the redevelopment?
As of August the 18th, they've got $14,563,113.09. That's of August the 18th. You don't think that the Michigan City Redevelopment Commission could not come up with some emergency funds?
Maybe Bob's got a solution.
Bob, what's your solution?
Well, to me, when I was thinking this through, number one, we certainly ought to know, the school board ought to know if we actually have metal detectors there right now. And we certainly should have. But if we don't, then I would hope that the Redevelopment Commission, maybe not out of these funds, but out of some of their own funds, would fund the metal detectors for the school. Now, maybe these metal detectors are first time through, they don't have them, that's absolutely necessary, but I also think it's necessary if they've got metal detectors, but these are an upgrade. In other words, maybe they put in metal detectors 5-10 years ago, technology changes pretty fast, and sometimes they get wore down.
Oh yeah, there's updates.
So yeah, put in new detectors.
Maintenance.
And I would hope that the Redevelopment Commission would think about funding this particular situation. Then, if it
Wait,
turns...
they're not going to think about it. They're going to do this.
Well, I'm glad you're on the board. We just promoted
They can
Tony.
think about more money, but they need to not think about the metal detectors. They need to do it.
I agree. And then they can think about if, in fact, it comes out that they should have funded it through the money that was appropriated through the situation with the Redevelopment Commission, they can take that and put it back in their funds, or they will have done Michigan City area school system a real big favor, and the Michigan City area school system needs that. So hopefully the Redevelopment Commission will think about and actually do it, fund these metal detectors. Thank you.
Well, as I see it right now, the Redevelopment Commission has 5 members, and none of those individuals are elected officials. I just wonder if any of them have a fiduciary bond bonding their seat on a redevelopment commission. Because if you don't necessarily provide, if you don't have the backup of a bonding company, and if you're dealing with tax dollars or any government money, you're responsible for the money that you appropriate. They do appropriate money. They appropriate money for their city attorney because he does a lot of legal work. They appropriate money for engineers because there's a lot of engineering studies going on. They appropriate money for surveys. They appropriate money for
Construction,
right. They
not maintenance.
no. There is and if you doubt, Indiana Code Title 36, Local Government 36.725.7. 15% of that money goes for educational programs, work training programs, worker training programs, marketing and advertising of land located in the allocation area, or any other purposes. Could it be construed that a violation of state law, Indiana Code 36-725-7, is being
There's so many to this. If you were on the board, okay, we've all been here, sat on boards, right? And I've said this many times. No one likes the board member or the board to say no. You can say yes, but you have to qualify. Bob is 100% right here. If the redevelopment commission was on that board, and Craig McGuire, who's a great stand-up person.
Wait a minute. I got 2 Democrats saying I'm right. Hold on to that.
Oh, yeah, you got it.
Make sure you get this on TV. Go right ahead.
And Mr. McGuire,
Bob, the camera's over there.
he's a very good steward. He's a very good steward of money. He doesn't waste money. He's an awesome person. The board would say, yes, we would approve your $1.25 million a year for 5 years, but we want to know what the cost for the metal detectors are and the cost for each item you go. So bring that back to us and we will finalize the improvement.
Communication.
And that would get the board in a good light so they could approve things that are really necessary. And then the other thing that you talk about is, that's why I want to read the code here for a second, is the school has come to them and asked them for money for $5 million for 5 years. 4 years.
4 years.
$5 million for 4 years, $1.25 million a year. I don't know why they wouldn't say, okay, but tell us what give us the prices. Now you talk about fiduciary responsibility, and the state of Indiana requires people. I don't know the exact code, but in general, the code is people who actually handle the money. So if you appropriate money, you're probably not required to be bonded.
Oh.
If you're writing the checks, you're required to be bonded. If you're taking money into the city or the municipality, you're required to be bonding. Now, there are an umbrella bond that I know in the county, so people like the surveyor and the assessor, they don't take money. They don't bring money in, they don't have to, they don't personally write the checks. So they have an umbrella bond, which I think would be the smart thing for every board member, redevelopment commission, or any other board to have an umbrella bond to protect the fiduciary responsibility, because maybe they approve something they shouldn't, that they have a financial interest in, that they should not be voting on. So that would protect the city, not the board member. And I want to look at this code because you say that there's 15%, and it's always, folks, it's always in the verbiage. They are eligible for this money, but you have to read the code, and I just thought about this, and I never read the code from Dave because he's read it for us. Do they have to give it to them? And it says they are eligible if they request it. That presumes to me that they could say, okay, you requested the money, but no, we're not giving you the money. Or does it say they're eligible, that if they request it, they have to give them the money? I don't know.
Okay, under a new law that was established under Title I, it specifically states that this 15% that the school city is eligible for, if they request it.
See, there's the word. They're eligible for if they request it. Does eligible mean they have to give them? Eligible mean that they can elect not to give them? I think an attorney could argue that point. And I think they could win and says the state meant that they're eligible for, which means if they ask, they have to give it to them.
I'll give you an example.
Wait a minute. Okay. I'm going to go into that a little bit also, but let me start by saying that Senate Bill 1 that was passed this time is causing all sorts of problems. And apparently Senate Bill 1 does have some involvement with this also. But I've talked to the county assessor, I've talked to a couple other people. They're making calls downstate to the sponsors of this bill. They're calling the State Board of Accounts. It's a real problem. But eligible might mean that the Redevelopment Commission can review what they're going to spend the money for.
Of course they could.
Yes. And so as a result of that, they might be able to say, this is good, but we don't like this. Maybe it presents the situation where each board is going to have to get together and decide what are the things that are favorable and what are the things that are not favorable. And I got a feeling that may be ultimately the way this comes out, but go ahead.
Okay, getting to the TIF district. Established June 30th, 2025, will require transfers of at least 5% property taxes generated in the incremental assessment value to the authorized taxing unit, cities, towns, and counties, to public safety services in the TIF area. This reduces revenue for the Redevelopment Commission and increases revenue for authorizing taxing units, although the total taxes paid will remain the same. 15% of this money is delegated to the school system if they ask for it, but this particular, the way I read this, the municipalities can request 5% of that 15% as of June 30th, 2025.
Taxing units.
Taxing units.
Not municipalities, taxing units.
So the school city, the school, I'm sorry, the municipal city will be entitled to 5% of Redevelopment Commission's funds. That's the way I read it.
And if you read the minutes, before the show, you read the minutes that Mr. York said that they are looking at other people who want money, and I kind of laughed because one of those people asking for money, I understand, is the city.
Mm-hmm. So it's a can of worms, but the fact of the matter is there's a safety issue that exists at the Michigan City High School. And there's another safety issue on the books that we're going to discuss a little bit later on that's even more detrimental to the environment that we live in. And we just sort of let it fly over our heads and ignore it.
Okay, a logistics issue, because I wasn't aware what happened in the morning, but I was aware in the afternoon, which no one, I think, reported except WIMS maybe website, and Northwest Indiana Times reported it. There was a huge problem at the end of the day. Multiple jurisdictional forces had to show up to break up a huge problem at the high school. Not a word locally, which I understand people don't want to say that, but it was in Northwest Indiana Times. But logistically, if you have, and I just saw the buses leave today, I was working off Paz Road, just, I don't know, 20, 30 buses rolling down Paz Road. If you're logistically going to check students coming in for something going on, I do believe Michigan City has one of the biggest gyms in the region. Why wouldn't you trot them all in the gym, line them up, and let the buses go take the kids to elementary school? Why would you leave them sit on the buses logistically? Why wouldn't you say, okay, we're going to check everybody, walk into the door of the gym, right? Line up, we're all going to check you, and you go in the hallways. Why would we have them sit on the buses? And maybe if you're really smart and you had the teachers there or the resource officers there, while the kids were walking to line up in the gym, whatever they had in their backpack you were looking for, they might try to throw it in the bushes and you would catch them. I just think logistically it didn't make a bit of sense why you would sit on the buses when the buses have another place to go. They pick up the elementary kids after they drop off the high school kids. They got to go right away and get those routes. We have a hard time finding bus drivers. I'm sure the bus drivers didn't want to like it either. And we have one of the biggest gyms in the region. Line them up, check them. If you would have metal detectors, it would have been better.
We're going to have to become a lot more astute with security. That's all there is to it. We probably need numbers of police officers in the high school and the junior high schools in order to handle the kinds of situations
That's so sad.
potentially.
That is so sad to have to say that.
Yeah. And
oh my God.
Well, I don't say that it's a good
I
thing.
know.
I say that
I
it's a very
agree, but
pragmatic
that
thing.
is so sad. That's where we're at in this world.
All you got to do is look at the shootings that are going on, and this is ridiculous. But we can't stop it because you get these people who have mental problems. They get their hands on a gun, and just to show you how smart they really are, they have gotten a hold of weapons that are being brought into the country legally from Germany. That the design on the weapon itself is a Mauser that goes back 100 years.
Yeah, I saw. If you
But
look,
is one of the most accurate.
oh yeah, the
weapons.
Mauser or the Mosin. They're both the two very accurate or sniper rifles. In back 15, 20 years ago, you could buy them from Russia or Germany out of their warehouses that have been sitting there since World War II for $90. It's a bolt action.
Right.
And I remember I saw a picture of the rounds that I forget who shooter had them, but it shows a 5-round clip, and that's what the Mauser and the Mosin hold, a 5-round clip. And the bullets are pretty massive. It's a 7.56 round, a lot of powder, highly accurate sniper rifle. And those 15, 20 years ago, they were $90 a gun, brand new, never been used, sitting in a warehouse in Russia or Germany, the Mauser and the Mosin. And there's a movie, The Enemy of the Gates. They've used the Mauser and the Mosin.
Right. The Mauser design and the rifle itself, but not the stock, was used both in the attempted assassinations of the president and in the assassination of Charlie Kirk. These are highly military-type weapons, extremely accurate, and even in the hands of an amateur, they can do a lot of damage. We have to somehow manage to counter this, and I'm going to start by saying we got to have trained police officers in the high school and probably in the junior high schools. I know Tony doesn't agree, or doesn't.
I agree,
like
but it's sad.
Yeah, I agree. It's sad.
It's so sad. That's where we're at now. I didn't have school resource officers in the 80s, and things happen. I mean, there were fights at Krieger and Barker and Elston and Rogers, and they happened, but we didn't have school resources officer or multi-unit jurisdictional coming in to break up something. I mean, it's just, I don't know what you do, but I just say it's sad.
Well, you're going to have police officers that are trained to handle mental situations, knowing who in that area of all these students has a mental situation that could cause problems, so that they can start to keep an eye on these individuals. And then you can always get the one out of the blue that nobody knew anything about. And somehow you've also got to put in some kind of provisions to try to take care of that.
So this is for Bob, since he's an attorney. So the definition of eligible is having the right to do or obtain something satisfying the appropriate conditions. I think, if you read the law, I think a good attorney and a student attorney could argue eligible means we've asked you, we've told you what we want to spend it on, you have to give it to us. You don't have a choice here.
Now,
Well, they said appropriate conditions. They could put a modification.
Yes,
Modification.
but they can't say no.
No, right. They'd have to change what they're
I think the school would be wise to hire a very good attorney, maybe out in Indianapolis, and ask them, what do they call that? What do you call that in court? A case of first, and ask the courts to define what eligible means in the law.
Right,
A first
yeah.
impression.
Right.
We want to know what eligible means in the statute of the law. Does it mean they can say no, or does it mean if we satisfy the conditions, we get it? They can't say no.
Well, the problem is a lot of courts don't like to do that, because when you bring in a hypothetical, and that's going to be a hypothetical, they want an actual case.
Well, first they would go there and they'd ask for the money, and if they said no, then
yes.
they would have a case. They'd
Yes.
have it standing.
Yeah.
Because the court in Indianapolis, or I believe the Indiana Supreme Court, no, maybe the U.S. Supreme Court, had a case about the word shall. And they said that if without the qualifier, shall does not mean you have to do it. So a lot of people change their legal words to the word must.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you could argue the same thing with the word eligible as it stands in the law.
my issue here with all of the research that I've accomplished goes back to 2014. And from 2014 to 2022, okay, figure it out for yourself. For 8 years, the Michigan City Redevelopment Commission violated state law because they were to report to Gateway their financial monies that they've taken in to the Gateway. Remember, you
The
did
website,
the,
yes.
the Gateway website, so that everybody knows what's going on. They violated state law for 8 years. Now, in my opinion, here's another violation of state law. They are spending a lot of money. They are spending roughly, over the last 3 years, I think almost $30 million on various things for the city. Here is an opportunity that they can improve the school city, because state law basically provides a guidance for them to follow. But because they're a close-knit organization and they've got blinders on, they only want to do what they want to do. And it appears to me as if they are violating state law, and maybe the Attorney General should be informed of what's going on here.
Well, you're dancing around the
Probably
subject.
is, but I suggest we do something a little bit lighter just for a change.
Well, wait, he's dancing around the subject. The Redevelopment Commission has monies on which they get to expend.
Correct.
They are choosing it not to expend it on the education system. So what you're dancing around the subject is they are telling the education system that These things are more important than you.
I suggest we do something a little bit lighter.
True, true.
That's what they're saying.
And what's more important in
There's a
in
better
our,
return on investment than education. Sorry.
what's more important in our environment than, if not, it's
Nothing.
education.
Nothing's more important. Anyways, go back something lighter.
Well,
Wait, I want to go back to the Cubbies.
no, I got something before
Okay.
that. We can go back to the Cubbies. But because the situation with the South Shore Station keeps changing, and everybody has their own ideas of how many stories.
How many stories is
this building?
There
will
are
be.
12
Wait a
stories.
minute, I'm up first. I'm saying it'll be 10 stories.
Well, you're wrong,
Pick
because
your
I
number.
count, on driving up here, I specifically stopped, and I counted 12 floors.
Okay.
You'll be, and I said that, I think we said that at the last meeting.
Yeah, you did. I thought it was 8. You're right.
Yeah.
It's 12.
You were 2 floors sheets, two sheets to the wind, two short sheets to the wind.
The term is 3 sheets to the wind, not 2. But anyway, I thought we needed something a little bit lighter.
Okay.
I will stick with my prediction of 10. You don't know what's going to happen with this last 2.
Well, if it only goes up to 10, then you've got the towers where the elevators go up. There will be four crown jewels sitting on top of 10 stories of standing of cement.
Plus, the elevator goes an extra floor to get to the access. Anyways, the Cubbies, right? The
Yeah, the
Cubbies are
Cubbies.
doing good. I'm a Cubs fan. I give up on the Cubs already this summer, and Bob says they're going to go to the National League pennant.
Oh,
the
National League.
The division
The
pennant.
division.
The division pennant. So the odds are,
As a wild card participant.
so the odds are, I just looked it up, the betting, and please, betting is very dangerous, and I don't do very much of it, but it's fun to look at the odds because these guys make their whole living on betting. You know, the gamblers the people that bet make money. They make money, folks. They're not going to there to lose money.
Well, the odds are always in their favor.
Yeah,
That
so
helps.
the odds of the Cubs winning the National League pennant are 13.3%. The odds of the Cubs winning the World Series are 6.25%.
And that's about reasonably correct.
That's probably
But what are their
That's why I gave up on them.
What are-
6.6%.
what are the odds? I think the odds just changed significantly that they will be the #1 wild card pick.
Yes, they are. I think they're 8 games ahead to be the wild card pick.
They're down to 1 is the magic number.
Yeah, so
So if they win 1 or the Padres lose 1, they will be the #1 wild card pick.
because I teach math and surveying and calculations, and it's always about your risk analysis and the odds are prove it. Now, would I take any money and bet on the Cubs at World Series at 6.25%? No way. That's why I gave up on them. Or the National Pennant at 13.3%.
All right, back to a difficult subject. I know Dave has been doing some research on this situation. I'm very concerned about the jail situation, the prison situation in Michigan City and LaPorte County. I think our officials are really going to have to get with it and start bargaining. We're probably not going to win on the major issue, but we can certainly win on some minor issues.
Bargaining
Dave,
with
go
whom?
ahead and tell them. about it.
Bargaining with whom?
The state.
The state of
You got to
Indiana.
get them on the phone and start talking.
The state of Indiana, basically what it amounts to, this pertains to the Indiana State Prison located over there on the west side. The state of Indiana basically gave the property to, verbally gave the property to the city of Michigan City.
They promised it.
No,
And
they
they
did.
promised,
Yeah,
they did.
Officially promised.
And then they took it back. The reason why they took it back was because they needed 1,000 extra beds. Well, now who are going to occupy those 1,000 extra beds? I'll tell you who's going to occupy them. The existing prisoners that are residing in various state prisons throughout the state of Indiana will be relocated, at least for the next 3 years, to the Indiana State Prison. We're going to have an influx of numbers into the Indiana State Prison, and those individuals who will reside in here will put basically a burden on the Indiana State Prison, possibly put a burden on because will there be enough guards to watch these people? ICE and their efforts, there's like 600,000 criminals running around the United States, and the criminals that are caught by ICE are going to be housed here in the state of Indiana, and then they're going to be sent to Florida to the Alligator Alcatraz, before they get shipped out of the United States. The fact of the matter is there's going to be an economic impact on the city of Michigan City on all goods and services. Do we have enough police officers to police the new influx of people that are coming into Michigan City and reside? What about the overextending of water and sanitation services? Has the city of Michigan City addressed that issue? Not only should the city of Michigan City tell the state of Indiana, well, wait a minute, who's going to pay for these additional individuals that are going to come to town to be extra policemen, extra law enforcement officers, extra guards at the Indiana State Prison and so on, who provide goods and services? There's a lot of things that need to be addressed over the next 3 years. And it's an issue just ready to blow up.
Well, I think we got to get started now. And yet, what Dave is talking about is financial. The city of Michigan City needs to go in. How much will these additional entities cost the sanitation department, the water department? How many extra police officers will we have to add? Firefighters, because I don't think the prison's going to have their own firefighting system. So as a result, Michigan City's going to have to do that, and we're going to need extra firefighters if a major fire breaks out. We're going to have to allocate for all of that. In addition to that, there are some other things that needed to be thought about. Just because that prison out at Westville is going to be there even after the 3 years are up, we ought to start thinking about things like a state police barracks in the Westville area. We have one in Porter County, but that one in Porter County is not anywhere near the situation in Westville. We need to think about getting a state police barracks just south of Westville so that it can handle situations, especially drugs coming off the interstate, drugs coming off of I-94. Here's one where I think you could put Pat Boyd, Jim Pressel, and Mike Bohacek, who's our state senator. Those are the two representatives from LaPorte County. Jim Pressel and Pat Boyd, one's a Republican, one's a Democrat. Mike Bohacek's a Republican. And I think we could also probably get the two mayors together to work on something like this. It's going to be things like this that nobody's thought about that need to be added, and I would start with a state police barracks that's fully manned all the time. Go ahead.
I don't think there's any good solution here. They're going to put very bad people, and I don't think there's any way Michigan City can put up any sort of fight, because they are getting the money from the federal government to house very bad, criminal, illegal immigrants in Michigan City.
Well, now
No. ICE has their own security area in Marion County around the racetrack. They're building a racetrack holding facility specifically for ICE incarcerated people that are incarcerated by ICE. This pertains to the hardened criminals that reside within the various prisons within the state of Indiana. They're going to be relocated from the Terre Haute.
The worst of the worst.
Yeah, we're going to get the worst of the worst here in Michigan City to fill up those 1,000 beds that the state of Indiana took back, because they need room to hold the incarcerated people that ICE has accumulated, and supposedly there are like 600,000 of them roaming the streets.
Well, anyway,
I don't know how we can stop it. It's sad again. I don't think there's any way to stop it.
No, I'm not saying stop it. No, I'm just saying that we should be farsighted enough.
Asking to be
somebody has to pay
for what they're doing.
Right. Somebody has to pay. Somebody at the state of Indiana for this relocation process has to pay for the goods and services that it takes to relocate these people here in Michigan City, to potentially house the families of those people, because you got a lot of individuals who reside within the educational area of the West Side, and their families live on the outside of the walls. They live on the inside of the walls.
If I was Michigan City, I would find a way to find another prison in Indiana to put them there, not here.
But as
I don't care what old prison you can find, our prison, Civil War. Find another old prison, I don't care where, not here, somewhere else. Put your hardened criminals, I don't know, put them in an airport. I don't know, but don't put them here, please. Please let us tear the prison down.
But as it stands right now, what I have read, this is what's going to happen.
Well, we would have to reach out and scour Indiana to find a place to put them, so they're not here.
Let me put it this way from my perspective. Tony's right. That's where we start to bargain. It's the same thing Trump does all the time. The answer is no, we can't do that. And here's all the situations that go along with it. Now, that's your beginning bargaining point, and if you can make some inroads, you do that. If you can't make any inroads, then you've got to start to come back. Here's what it's going to cost us.
Money.
Now you have to give us that money.
That's good.
And we have to work on that. But in addition to that, we also have to be prepared for what happens in Westville after the transfer is made. Because 3 years from now or 2 years from now, there will be a transfer and the prison will, at that point, in Michigan City, start to come down. We still got this situation in LaPorte County. And that's why I want to also see them start saying we've got to have a state police barracks, one that is fully staffed, right there in Westville, just south of it.
We have a bargaining chip. I didn't realize that. We have the bargaining chip.
Yeah.
We have a brand new prison in Westville. We have an old prison in Westville. Why don't they put them in the old prison of Westville for 3
There
years
you go.
instead of over here in Michigan City? Let's use the bargaining chip. They don't have to tear the old Westville down just yet. Why don't you put them there and put them right next to where they already have the new prison and the guards and the state police and the county sheriff, they're already there. And that would free up Michigan City.
But
We,
maybe-
as a community,
yeah, but-
have to start focusing them on doing that,
but
not this.
To get answers to the possible future questions that need to be asked.
And you got to get the mayor and the people that work for the administration and the city council. But you really got to get the 2 state representatives and the state senator knocking on the door about this. And if the 2 mayors got together, the mayor of LaPorte and the mayor of Michigan City, I think they could get some things done about the Westville situation.
You could prove it's cheaper to do in Westville because they already have a prison campus there. They could consolidate the prison campus by keeping Old Westville open long enough for 3 years to handle these prisoners instead of a big Michigan City prisoners with only a few prisoners. I mean, logistically, it's a better idea. Financially, it's a better idea. We need to float that to the governor and says, please don't bring them here. Just leave them in Westville. You got Westville, open up a whole nother campus. Just keep the old Westville open for a while.
Well, who's the responsible party to float that issue to the governor, if not the
I would
mayor?
hope the 2 representatives, the state senator, the 2 mayors, city council, I think they would all, en masse, find out what this would be and get them to move them and let the prison go.
Yeah,
So we already have a solution.
yeah, well, I
The
agree.
old Westville. Let them say that.
I'm just saying that we got to be prepared. If that doesn't happen, then we've got to go after the money.
For the next 3 years, this will be an issue that will continue to fester in Michigan City and grow and fester.
Longer
and
than that.
Well,
Longer than that.
Westville, the new prison in Westville is supposedly 28 or 29, that Bob said.
Well, yeah,
So in the meantime, those people will reside here in Michigan City for 3 years. And what is the economic impact on the society here in Michigan City when we already have 46, or in my mind, 46% people who live at or are below the poverty level? What's going to happen? It's going to be.
well, the big effect will be on the school system.
That's another one. How will the school system handle additional students?
Yeah.
If we get all of the incarcerated kids, all the incarcerated kids, the kids of the incarcerated people coming into Michigan City in our school system, how's the school system handle it when they can't even approach the redevelopment commission, won't even fund sufficient money for metal detectors at the school system? What economic impact is it going to have?
There's no better economic impact than funding education. There's no better investment than funding education.
Yeah.
And to continue to pass the buck, kick the can down the road, that's a mindset in this community. We continue to kick it down the road rather than make a decision, because right now all of the eggs are in 2 baskets here. That's the 12-story complex on 11th Street.
10-story complex. Go right ahead.
And that's the revitalization of the You Are Beautiful property. Maybe they're going to put tents up there. Maybe they're going to start by putting in tents, and we're going to bring in all of these homeless people to the community. And as this was at Marriott, when they build their motel, outside perimeter will be a tent city. Maybe that's what's going to happen in this
I'm
town.
glad you brought up the homeless. So everyone says, and the courts have ruled that you cannot tell people to panhandle. But I believe the state of Vermont, there's a really neat website. You go to Google Scholar, and under Google Scholar, it shows you all court cases. You can read them. You can say Indiana, Every court case is available in Google Scholar. Just go to Google Scholar. But there's a case in Vermont that they said, well, they made a law that says panhandlers cannot panhandle within 3 feet of a curb or an island or traffic. And I think they brought that to the U.S. Supreme Court, and I believe that was allowed. That it's dangerous for panhandlers to be that close to traffic and curbs.
That's the point.
So they upheld that that is not against free speech, that you can put some rules around panhandlers. Because I understand Michigan City has a very hard time about panhandlers who are, in my opinion, are dangerous in traffic and should not be there on these little 2-foot islands or at the edge of the curb or walking in traffic asking for money. You can make a law, and it's already been written. I believe it's the Vermont case. Look it up. If anyone's watching, and administration can pass this, and the council can pass this, and we could stop panhandlers within 3 feet of traffic. And that would be a huge leap in stopping them from them getting hurt and somebody hitting them and getting sued.
Yeah.
I don't, and again, I don't believe, I work in surveying, and I work in traffic, and I have traffic control around me. It's still very dangerous. But we got people panhandling who don't have the right to tell them no. We also have people panhandling for whatever cause they are, which I don't agree with, and dangerous too in major intersections. They should not be allowed to do that either. That's somebody's going to get hit, somebody's going to get hurt, and who's going to get sued? Probably, if it's the municipality letting them panhandle in a major intersection, probably the municipality. Are they ready for that one? So there's a little about panhandlers and vagrants, that the city is bound by Supreme Court ruling, but there are also parameters they can put in place that are allowed by the Supreme Court.
I would also take a look at, and I certainly haven't researched this, but I'm wondering, sitting here with what Tony's talking about, if that law would only, if the law about panhandling would only apply to federal highways, not to state and local roads.
Well, I think the state put it in, maybe a municipality put in effect, the state put in effect, and I think it went all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court.
Yeah,
and they allowed some parameters on things that they would be considered free speech. They consider panhandling free speech.
yeah, I know that. But the point being that it is a huge hazard.
Yes.
On these various streets and roads. Now, you could look at federal highways where you have divided highways. They can stand in the middle of that division and probably be fairly safe. But if they're on one of these highway tubes where that traffic goes through unbelievably.
Or 421 south of 20 is dangerous.
Yeah.
And they're panhandling right there at the curb. They're panhandling on a 2-foot median. It's not safe. Not safe for anybody.
No. But I'm thinking that might be a little bit easier to get that law for the state and local roads than it would be for a federal highway. But
yes, I agree. Federal highways are obviously, most federal highways are blocked right away. They are restricted in their right-of-way use. They are protected in their right-of-way use because it's not a place for anybody, let alone construction people, when they're trying to fix these roads, to be on. They're unbelievably dangerous for anybody, including pedestrians or panhandlers, whatever you want to call them. But I want to go quick. We don't have much time, but I understand that the governor is looking for people at the IURC, Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission. He was put out a note, says he's looking for candidates for the IURC, and I didn't believe it, and maybe you could check on me, but the article said that the position pays $152,000 a year. It's like, what? I'll be on the IURC. I thought that was like a part-time position. Yeah. I think that was a full-time position.
well, what you'd have to look at, are there any prerequisites to being on there? Normally, a commission like this is going to be it's going to have 3 Democrats and 2 Republicans, or 3 Republicans and 2 Democrats. In quotes, non-political. I'm not sure how non-political that is, but that was the way it was originally
So the
designed.
thing that came out this week, I don't think it's been reported in Michigan City, but maybe it has, it's in the Northwest Indiana Times, that, and NIPSCO put the press release out, they got approved for GenCo.
I'm sorry.
The IURC
Yes, they
approved
did.
GenCo.
Yeah.
So GenCo is a separate entity, which I don't understand, and I don't have the ability to understand that they're going to sell power to the data company at contractual rates that they both agree to outside of the IURC's typical system. They still have to tell the IURC but it's outside their parameters.
Establishing new rates.
And I don't understand how that does or doesn't fall on the backs of us, because those plants we pay for that generate the electricity. And the other article was that NIPSCO announced a multi-billion-dollar gas generator plant down at Wheatfield.
Yeah.
So hopefully that, which I like, that would take place of getting rid of our generating plant. I hope. So those are things that just came out this week. I never knew the IURC member made $152,000 a year. That's a lot of money. Maybe not for Indianapolis, but I don't know how much time they spend
for the
on
kinds
it.
of knowledge.
Or what kind of knowledge they have.
Yeah, that's the critical thing. And this is becoming so much more complicated than it was 20 or 25 years ago, that you've got to have people that understand it.
That reminds me of a time back when I was on the city council and I had an opportunity to address the IURC in Gary. and this is what I sat there the entire day until public comment came to be. And this is what I sat in front of. There were like 5 individuals, extremely overweight, extreme black tuxedos, chawing on a cigar, just sitting there twiddling their thumbs.
Well, that was 50 years ago for Christ.
Well, it might have been 50 years ago, but
Times have changed.
Oh, they have?
Yes.
Oh, they're not. They can't smoke anymore, but they still can sit and legislate their own concerns.
That's the same group that put that water tower up out there. Everybody.
Going back to the minutes of the redevelopment commission, if you got a chance, hey, pull them up and read them, and see what's actually going on. A statement has been made by the city attorney, by the redevelopment commission's attorney, that during an executive session there has been no issues reached pertaining to regulating what they're going on. When you see the omission, even though it was listed in the minutes of the executive session, when you see the omission of the Kevin McGuire's request on the regular minutes, something happened. Something caused that omission to take place. Was that issue an issue that might have been discussed in prior executive sessions in order to kick the can down the road? Because in reading the minutes, there have been no, other than the request from the August 18th meeting, the only request that came to light was Baker Tilly is doing its investigation. Somebody had to come up with that idea. And if it doesn't come up publicly, or if it's omitted from the minutes, is that an indication that the redevelopment commission is just going to forget about it?
I don't know, and I remember vaguely there was some legalities about tabling something indefinitely. That state law says if you table something for so long and let it sit there, it automatically becomes law. There was something I need to research, but I remember that that came up.
Go ahead.
There's something about that.
Well, if in fact, and I'm not sure which way this goes, if the legislature is still in session and it just sits there, I don't think it becomes law. It could go the other way. If the legislature is not in session and it just sits there, then I think it becomes law.
There's something like that they understand. Governments can't just table things till eternity. Tabling means I think you have to have a date in which you bring it back. It can't just be tabled indefinitely, and then if you don't, then it becomes approved. There's some strange
no, that's a different situation.
machinations.
That's a different situation. That's within the House of Representatives or in the Senate. If you table it and you don't bring it back, it just expires.
But
wait a minute, at the end of the session.
Well, I thought there's some local. I'd have to look at the law. Again, I will go to Google Scholar, and I will research cases because it's kind of fun to read cases, and the interesting stories behind them are all in the case. Mm-hmm. It's kind of interesting to read how things happen or how things get interpreted and how things roll from locals, circuit, Supreme Court, appellate, Supreme, the U.S. appellate, the U.S. Supreme. It's all in the minute. It's pretty cool reading.
But I'm pretty sure I'm right. If in fact you table a motion in the Senate or in the House, and you don't bring it back up during that session, when I mean by that the 2-year session,
Yeah.
then it expires.
Yes.
But my understanding is it was taken under advisement. Mr. York explained, Senate Bill 1 affects all cities and affects the TIF proceeds as well. It resets our assessed value. TIF is provided to cities based on assessed value. It will not be fully understood until 5 years from now because the adjustments gradually take place over a 4-year period. Baker Tilly will do projections to make sure there is enough money to cover over the next 4 years. They do not know the South TIF, the North TIF will lose money, and the North TIF will go away in 2 years, leaving the South TIF to only carry on the funding mechanism. They get roughly $9 million a year in TIF proceeds. I have researched this for the last 3 years. They get the money. They have $14+ million in the bank. Why do we have to resort to Baker Tilly to determine what a simple little research can accomplish? Why do you pass the buck down the road? We have a problem here, insecurity within the schools. Let's fix it, people.
I like how you read, and I really like when you read the word. If you read the words and actually look into the words, are they telegraphing the punch here that we won't know for 5 years, so come back in 5 years?
Yeah.
Is that what they're quietly saying?
I got a feeling that Baker Tilly is on the hook for this one. I'm going to see how they handle it. Now, they can put it off and put it off. We'll see what happens. But they really have passed the buck to Baker.
Oh yeah, that's a really good way to do things, to ask somebody to give you an opinion later, and then, but to say that, to come out and say in the minutes that we won't know for 5 years tells me, and I guess would tell Mr. McGuire, sorry, come back in 5 years.
Yeah. Again, and ladies and gentlemen, this legislation, Senate 36-725-7, has been on the books since 2018. Okay? It's been on the books, and the Redevelopment Commission has been ignoring what that law says since 2018 because they had an agreement with Michigan City area schools for $600,000 a year that the schools were getting. Except that agreement with the school city expired. And this is why Kevin McGuire and the school city is approaching redevelopment to reinitiate a new program. And it just seems like if it don't fit our edict that we want to, with Mr. York and everything else, if it doesn't fit our parameters that we're thinking about, to hell with everything else. That's not the case, ladies and gentlemen.
I would start arguing, but first you got to get denied. I would argue the word eligibility. I am eligible for 15% if I come to you and ask you and tell you what I'm paying for. Now you can qualify that and tell me what you approve or you don't approve, but I'm eligible for 50%, so I'm asking for my 15%. And you're going to tell me no? I'm eligible.
Yeah, they are.
It's like telling, let's say a college sports person that their eligibility to play sports at this collegiate school, we don't like it, so you're not eligible anymore. Eligibility means I'm eligible, I pick a school, I play.
Yeah.
Not that, hey, I pick a school and we don't like you, so even though you're eligible, you can't play.
Again, I'll say it one more time. 36-725-7. Do a little research, everybody. Do a little research. Maybe Mr. York should do a little research. 36-725-7. Maybe the Redevelopment Commission's attorney should do a little research. When I brought this issue back to the Redevelopment Commission in 2022, it was spoken to me by the current Redevelopment Commission attorney that I didn't know anything I didn't know what I was talking about. And yet I got the law in books, and it's been on a book since 2018. It seems like changing the course of the mighty river. Ben Steele in his bare hands. The only thing that redevelopment wants to do is to line their own pockets.
We got to go. We got something good here.
Yeah,
we got 2 minutes.
In terms of these apprenticeship programs, I got my grandson into the electrical one. He went through his first orientation this week. He liked it a lot, thought it was a good program. One more time, I want to read off the names of the people, the contact person in Michigan City, and how you get a hold of them, and also the contact person if you live outside Michigan City. In Michigan City, the contact person is Kyla Ward, phone number 219-873-1400, extension 2018. One more time, 219-873-1400, extension 2018. If you have a son or a daughter, a grandson or a granddaughter that is looking for a position, that will be a lifetime situation should they choose to do it. These positions are fantastic. Now, if you live outside Michigan City, the contact person is Emmanuel Turner. Phone number 219-884-4500. No, my mistake. 4503. One more time, 219-884-4503. Any questions about this, feel free to call me, 219-874-1535.
And that program is a lifelong program that will not get AI'd out in these people's time.
Yeah.
Those are jobs that AI is going to have decades and decades and decades of time to overcome and take away your job. Couple minutes left. We only got...
You're on, David.
It's all yours.
Well, I want to go back to the redevelopment's responsibility to the taxpayers. In reading the minutes, it said Baker Tilly is going to do some research. Well, the fact of the matter is there are established TIF districts already in the city of Michigan City that extends above and beyond this 5-year period. Common sense is going to tell a logically thinking individual that this TIF money is going to continue to be rolling into the community through the auditor's office will continue to give money to the city. The money is going to be there until the life of the TIF district is ceases and desists, and that's 25 years from now. TIF districts will be around for a hell of a long time.
They got you and I beat.
Yeah. So the money is going to be there, but because of a diversionary tactic on behalf of our city fathers, we're saying no to the school city, and yet they're entitled to it. I want to thank everybody for watching. Your input as to improvement or criticism of this program is greatly appreciated. Please contact Show's co-producers Bob Pollock, Dave Bila, or Tony Hendricks with your comments. You can email Bob at skrpollock@gmail.com, Dave at djbila1@hotmail.com, or Tony at emailagm@yahoo.com. Or you may direct your ideas for any future shows to our one and only pain in the neck staff writer, Sarah Bellum, because she provides me all this information. The showing of our program will be Saturday morning at 10 a.m., also Monday and Thursday evening at 7 p.m. on Channel 99. Also numerous times, because I've noticed we've appeared on the show 2 or 3 times a day in addition to our normal scheduled time. So I want to thank everybody who provides this. You may also enjoy watching our show on YouTube, Navigate News and Views, except utilize 99 Navigate News and Views, and it'll take you right to the source. I want to thank everybody for watching, and make it a good day.